Hello, Food Wishers. Welcome to a live chat. We are coming to you from post-apocalyptic San Francisco, where we haven't been for over a week. We've been up at Kismet working on the new studio, and conditions there have not been much better, but they've actually been better than San Francisco, where you probably saw in the news the pictures of the bright orange glowing sky, which is something I've never seen here, and I've lived here for over 30 years. So crazy times. The last few weeks have been really wild. We had, speaking of wild, of course, all the wildfires, which were around us, but not really that close to our place in Sonoma. So that's good. And of course, it's been terrible for a lot of people around there. So we try not to complain about breathing dirty, toxic air and the occasional power outage, because then you see people on the news staring at what used to be their house and is now a burning pile of ash and coals. So trying to stay positive. Thank you for everybody asking about us. We're fine, definitely fine. But it's been a somewhat challenging couple weeks, as you can imagine. The heat in Sonoma went up into triple digits like 3 or 4 days in a row. And not just like triple digits 100. We're talking triple digits like 111. So that was interesting. And because the air quality was poor, we basically just sat inside enjoying our no air conditioning and waiting it out, basically. So I'll have to do a little post-mortem on the vegetable beds. They're getting to the end of their life cycle. The triple-digit heat did not help. But actually, for a little small garden, we did pretty good this year. At this point, though, it just seems like, an afterthought. It's hard to focus on that stuff with everything going on. But anyway, it's been interesting for everybody that lives out here, I'm sure. And if you're watching on the news, you're probably thinking, that looks crazy, and it is. But anyway, on to more fun topics like food and cooking. And we'll do our best to act normal. At least we will. I will. Michelle is returning to laugh in the background. The door's open. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear her. But last chat we did, which I think is 3 weeks ago, we missed a week. I was on vacation, which, again, I spent sitting inside looking at smoky skies, trying not to breathe too much. But anyway, where I did the chat last time was in what's going to be the workshop studio recording space, and I had to close the door, and nobody could hear Michelle laughing in the background. And I got some comments like, "Hey, where's Michelle? We like when she laughs in the background." So anyway, Michelle will be returning. If you're new to the live chats, they are everyone can listen, everyone can watch, everyone can scratch their head and say, "What the hell is he talking about?" But if you want to comment, if you want to ask a question, if you want to chime in on the live chat here on my right, and probably your right, you have to be a member, which you do by just hitting the join button. If you're just brand new, the memberships were started to hopefully add a little support financially to building out this new studio and little farm we're trying to do in Sonoma. So you can go read the links. I don't want to bore anyone here. But thank you for everyone who's already joined. Thank you to all the members who have been with us since the beginning, literally the beginning. And if you're interested in joining, go ahead. If not, I understand. A lot of things going on. Just enjoy the chat anyway. And I'm going to get into some questions here. Thank you, John. Generally, the chats are me trying to answer questions, going off on tangents, and also mispronouncing people's YouTube handles and names. Speaking of which, I see we have a Mr. Jamie Musselwhite on board. Hi, Jamie. He posted a picture of a birthday cake on Twitter yesterday or the day before that had a 2 8 on it, 88-year-old birthday. And we thought it was him because he has a beard with gray in it. So I thought Jamie was 88. I have to apologize. Or was it 66? I think it was 88. Anyway, a little misunderstanding. Jamie, you looking good. But maybe, again, think of a little color in the beard. I don't know. I'm thinking about the same for the mustache. This is not ash from the fires. This is actually white coming in, probably from stress. But anyway, sorry, Jamie, that we thought you were 88 years old. You don't look a day over 75. All right, let's get some questions here. Let's see. What do we got? Victoria's having a fried Spam sandwich with smoky tomatoes. I don't know. That's some weird timing. If you come out here, all the tomatoes are smoky. But anyway, that sounds good. Evan's making our bread and beef and Guinness stew. That sounds good. Hello, San Diego. When I saw the Giants game got canceled, I assumed it was from smoke or bad atmospheric conditions, but it was actually one of the Giants apparently tested positive. So that was too bad. Yes, Katie, back with the bobbleheads. Angel Pagan and Mad Bum. We missed Mad Bum. That's another thing that's weird. Sports are back, sort of. Baseball with cardboard cutouts. And football, not sure what's happening there. A few people in the stands. Basketball's weird. They have like animated fans that are cardboard but still animated. Anyway, it's hard to get into. Mostly because the Warriors are out of it. I'd probably be more into it. But anyway, I guess it's good to have sports back and their associated bobbleheads. Ash wants to know. Ash, this is so weird. Ash Johnson. For the tomato soup, did you grow those tomatoes yourself? Yes, we did. Our tomato beds at Kismet did fairly well for as much as they were neglected. We had some what's called blossom end rot, where the tomato looks beautiful and perfect, but then right underneath where the flower used to be, it starts turning black and gray, and it kind of gets bigger and bigger. And that happened on some of them, which I hear is from a calcium deficiency caused by probably inconsistent watering, which makes sense because we had a crazy schedule, and some days we thought we were going to be there, and then last second we had to wait till the next morning, and things got hot. But anyway, the tomatoes did pretty good. I would say 90% of them were beautiful and edible. They were pretty small. In fact, we bought one variety called Big Boy, which sounds like it's going to be pretty big, right? And they were small boys. They were like little, they looked like early girls. So when your early girls are bigger than your big boys, you probably got something going on there. So anyway, it was exciting to have some fresh veggies coming out of the garden, squash and peppers, and we made omelets and we made frittatas and we did all the usual stuff. The next thing we'll probably eat from there is green beans. We did a cover crop over our garlic bed. So looking forward to that. But yes, thank you for asking. We did use homegrown tomatoes for our soup, which, by the way, that soup was incredible. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. I really liked it. All right, let me go back here. We got some questions, I think. Jim, out of meat tenderizer. Congratulations, Jim. Very exciting. When do you use the spike side versus the flat side? Well, flat side obviously is for pounding out things you want to be flat, like we've done in most of the videos. So I would say 95% of the time it's the flat side because you're simply flattening. The spike side is when you want to take a piece of really tough beef, like let's say rump roast. And there's a lot of other tough cuts, but rump roast is what came to mind. You cut a piece of rump roast that would be very tough if you tried to cook it as a steak. You use the spiky side to pound the heck out of that and then pound it again. And when you're sure it's been fully pounded, one more pound. And then you maybe bread that, do a chicken fried steak, or you could even do Salisbury steak with that. But anyway, spike side is when you want to take a really tough piece of meat and almost turn it into a ground meat patty that's still attached to where the pieces are still attached, which is probably a weird way to explain it. But anyway, spiky side, tenderize, flat side, flatten. Pretty basic. Brian bought some canned pickles and has extra brine. So I tried to reduce it. Oh, thinking that would cook out the water, but to my surprise, a lot of the acid cooked out too. Can you explain this? I cannot explain that. There's so much I can't explain. The acid content, I don't think would cook out. I really think what is evaporating is water. So I'm surprised by that. What I'm guessing is it reduced so much. Was it salty? I'm guessing it was salty. I'm guessing that the water evaporated and the salt overwhelmed the acidic taste, and you just don't know it's acidic. So is that a reasonable explanation? I'm not sure. By the way, if you have leftover pickle brine, marinating a piece of meat in it like a chicken is apparently a good idea. I've done it a few times, and I think it worked pretty good. Although it's really just another way to do a salt brine. So, Candy made our prime rib last night. Amazing, thank you. Or last weekend. Thank you for that. Glad things are going well. Rachel wants to know what kind of foods brought me comfort as a kid. Well, that is a great question in these times. And yes, I've been eating a lot of comfort food, as probably we all have. But as a kid, my favorite comfort foods, I'll start with potato salad. That was the first food I actually remember eating. My mom used to tell me that she would give it to me as baby food. So that was one of the first like adult foods apparently I got to eat. So definitely potato salad. Mashed potatoes are probably my all-time favorite comfort food. I could live on mashed potatoes. Fresh, preferably. But as you know, I've been known to squirrel away a small box of instant mashed potatoes in the pantry, just in case. There actually is like some post-apocalyptic action. So I'd have to say those are the top two comfort foods. And if I remember more, I'll shoot them out. But those are the ones I remember. Our San Francisco bagel, Jamie wants to know, Old Man Musclewhite wants to know if San Francisco bagels are like Montreal bagels. I'm not sure. I only call them San Francisco bagels because they kind of flattened out and they didn't look like real bagels. I think I was trying to make New York bagels, or maybe I was trying to make Montreal bagels. And they look good when I boiled them and baked, and then they just shrunk as they cooled. And they got all flat and crunchy, not crunchy, crinkly, craggly, gnarly. And I'm like, these things are weird looking. So I'm going to call them San Francisco bagels and pretend I did it on purpose. So that's the story of the San Francisco bagel. The truth is out there now. It was all a big hoax. Robin, yes, I have a favorite game day food. That would be probably chicken wings. I'm an old school guy. Chicken wings, chili, nachos. Let's throw nachos in there. Give me some nachos and chicken wings, and I'm all good. Pizza, sure. I know a lot of people like pizza for their game day, but I'm more of a nacho wing guy. Thank you, Grape Tomato Girl. Nick, yes, we're going to plant some things in the fall for sure. In fact, I think I like the cold weather stuff better than the hot weather stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tomatoes, peppers, amazing. You got to have that. But stuff like mustard greens and kale and cabbage and just lettuces in general. Some, broccoli, I guess, is more of a cold weather. Although I have to check that out. But anyway, yes, I am trying to do some of the cold weather, cooler weather veggies coming up. So stay tuned for that. I will do short and quick hit videos like I did this summer with the vegetables, or I'll try to do more of those. So that's coming down the line. Thank you, Zach. I'm glad I helped inspire and invigorate your love of cooking. I will stay safe. You stay safe. And we'll all be safe. Whoops. Sorry, sometimes the questions jump by. Trey Boras says, made fruit pies this summer, but every time the filling shrinks and leaves gaps underneath the top crust, what gives? How to fix that? Well, what gives is the fruit. See what I did there? The fruit gives as it collapses as it cooks. Because, of course, if you've ever seen an apple and then you've seen a roasted apple, it's half the size. Remember those little shrunken head apples? Did you ever make those as a kid? That just reminded me of that. You carve a face into a fresh apple, and then you let it dry, and it turns into a shrunken head. Am I dating myself? This is what we did for entertainment back before the internet and Netflix. We did shrunken apple heads and chill. So anyway, what was the question? Oh, what you have to do is pile the fruit up, like way up, to, counter the shrinkage, the significant shrinkage you're going to get when the pie bakes. That is the only answer. There's no secret methods. That's why people cheat and they do the lattice top so that just kind of falls down on the fruit. But anyway, there's not a lot of answers to that. If you just fill it up to the top, put crust on, bake it, cools, you're always going to have that little bit of a gap. Having said that, once you slice it, you just tap that top crust down like this. Tap, tap, tap. The old tappa, tappa. And it will touch the fruit and no one will know. That's what they do in the diners. Anyway, Donna Lamb, here's a vote for some tofu recipes. Stay safe out there. Donna, I will try. Although, I like my job and the tofu videos don't get a lot of traffic. Although that didn't stop me with zucchini taco boats, which I thought was going to do well traffic-wise. It got no traffic. Why not? Anyone have a theory? I thought those were like seasonal. They were just amazing tasting. So even after doing this, for how many years have I done this? Almost like going on 15 years, 14, 13. Let's call it 15. I still cannot predict what videos are going to do well traffic-wise and which won't. It's crazy. But anyway, tofu, generally not a huge traffic, but I like tofu, so maybe I'm just going to do it anyway. What do I care? Let's do tofu. If anyone has any favorite tofu recipes we haven't done yet, please shout them out. David made the watermelon drink, Agua Fresca and Stay Fair Lemonade. Both came out well. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed those. Get a rabbit or two and have infinite organic fertilizer. That sounds good. Do we do anything with the rabbits afterward? What is that movie? Roger and Me? Remember that movie? Frank, hello from Germany. Hello from San Francisco. I know, Russell, some people do put antacid tablets in their tomatoes to help with blossom rot, which I think is good if you have calcium deficiency actually in the soil. I think the soil was okay. I really think it was the watering. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. We're doing well. Hope you're the same. That's the first time I've ever said Patterson and not Patterson, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Ash wants to know, in bread making, does the kind of flour affect the density and consistency of the bread? Not really, too much. Bread flour versus all-purpose, sure. Bread flour has more protein, and it gets more glutinous and stretchy and sticky and stretchy as you need it. And generally works better for bread, hence the name. But the consistency is really the water content, how wet your dough is. So you can make a dough that's really easy to work with, that has a lot of flour and won't stick to your hands or the surface, and you have a very sort of dense, possibly dry bread once it's cooked. When you make our ciabatta bread or one of our pizza doughs, it's really wet dough and hard to work with and super annoying. Those generally come out with a much different consistency, much more bigger bubbles, more tender, chewier, crisp around the edges. So really, I think the water content is what affects your bread consistency more than the type of flour. That will a little bit. Brian loves cooking with buttermilk. Well, who doesn't? I love buttermilk. Lately, I've tried using powdered cultured buttermilk. So far, so good. Check out the cartoon chef on the packaged sacco. It looks like me, apparently. Well, that's always disturbing. Every once in a while, someone will send me a picture from like Australia of a fast food drive-through Italian restaurant or something, and there'll be Chef John on the sign with like a big mustache and fat neck. And anyway, it's always kind of funny. Thank you for that. I'll maybe look that up. Sacco brand dried buttermilk. Who knew? Thank you, Steak Diane. I know at least one people appreciated the zucchini recipe. Jim's new favorite comfort foods, Loco Moco. If you ever made that, you're missing out. Rice, hamburger, fried egg, gravy. Come on. Thanks, Ryan. Welcome aboard, Alex. Welcome aboard, Rita. If you're just watching this and you're not a member, make sure you hit the join button so you can ask a question and also see exclusive, very short, completely amateurishly made videos from the new studio as we, build our dream in the wilds of Sonoma County. It is quite the adventure, and we're going to have more and more videos there as we start to film there, which is going to happen very soon. So anyway, that's my plug here for joining. Whoop! I got to go back. I missed some questions. Here we go. Frank's version of mashed potatoes is 2/3 potato, 1/3 carrot for a sweet kick. Does anyone else do that? Do you mix stuff in your potatoes? I'm a fan of mixing cauliflower with mashed potatoes. I think that works. Also, celery root, one of my favorite mashed potato stretchers when I get in these moods where I'm like, I got to eat healthy. Let's not eat a giant plate of mashed potatoes. Let's eat a giant plate of mashed potatoes that's 1/3 cauliflower, which I'm sure is so much healthier and way better for you. Eugene, my favorite way to make squash is stuffed with meat. That's true. There's nothing wrong with plain squash. I just don't need to eat it if I can avoid it plain. I like it with stuff. I like it cut up in like a kung pao chicken. I like it served under a meat sauce. I like it stuffed with taco fillings, as you saw recently. Cheese, if I don't have meat, let's stuff some cheese and breadcrumbs and do like a squash gratin. So yeah, squash is mostly water. So I like it with stuff because it's not super flavorful by itself. Which reminds me, you have to salt your squash. Do not, under any circumstances, cook squash, summer squash, zucchini, starburst, you name it. Do not cook it unless you've cut it, salted it, and let it drip that water out, which is the more bitter parts of the vegetable leaking out. And then you blot that off, rinse it off depending on how much salt you want to stay, and then cook it. And not only will it have a better texture, a crisper texture, a denser texture, but it will actually taste seasoned. It will taste good. And not to mention, which we just mentioned, a little bit of that bitterness will be leached out. And that's my method with squash. So, Bob, yes, chicken kebabs, the Turkish chicken kebabs are a must make. Thank you for mentioning that. Beets are good for cool weather. Thanks, Nick. I'm going to do some beets, I think. Michelle loves beets. I'm indifferent. I'll eat a beet. All right, I'll drop a beet. I'll enjoy a beet if someone hands me a plate that has beets on it. I don't turn my nose up at it. I don't go looking to order beets on menus. Unlike if something comes with mashed potatoes, even if I don't like that entree, I will get that entree. So yes, planting some beets is probably a good idea. And you just reminded me, because they're a similar type of plant. Does anyone have or know experience with Tokyo turnips? If you know Tokyo turnips and you have tips for growing those, shout them out, because I want to grow some Tokyo turnips. They're those little white ones, and they're so sweet and earthy and delicious. I would like to grow those next to my beets. By the way, my favorite beet recipe, because I know you were thinking, what is his favorite beet recipe since he barely likes them? Remember our fish and parchment video where we wrapped, I think it was a piece of salmon, in parchment paper with veggies and herbs and butter and I forget what else, and we put it in a hot oven and the paper puffs up? That technique works great for beets. Beets and walnuts and goat cheese. You put beets, walnuts, and goat cheese in a little parchment package. You put that in a very hot oven, and it is really nice. You probably want to boil the beets first to give them a head start. But if you're looking for a great fall dinner party, impress your guest recipe, when we're allowed to have dinner guests again, by the way, try the beet and parchment. Excuse me. Candy says, I just reminded her of our garlic Parmesan chicken wings. That was the first Chef John recipe she ever tried. Well, that's a good one. In fact, football season is great. I love football, but mostly I like the excuse to eat that food again. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Gene. Gene did not get notified about the taco boats. I'm going to have to talk to my tech people. I think there's some suspicious thing going on. Let me know if you have notifications turned on and you don't get notified about our new videos. I would like to know that. I would like to pass that along to my friends at YouTube and, of course, my corporate overlords, because I want everybody to know every time we post a video so they can decide whether to watch it or not and not know about it. So anyway, excuse me. That's too bad to hear. Go watch the video now, though. Thanks, Sydney. Oh, naked cherry tomatoes. If you want to try something fun and you're really bored and you're stuck in the house and it's the end of tomato season and your cherry tomato plants are blowing up, also your cherry tomato pants are blowing up, try our naked cherry tomato salad. It is stupid as far as the work involved because you got to peel little cherry tomatoes, but it's not that bad. And it is one of the most interesting and delicious and texturally exciting things you will have in a long time. So go try that. Nick's looking for something fun and new to do with phyllo. Any suggestions? Yes. What is that famous Moroccan chicken dish that they layer with chicken and stuff? I think it's egg, maybe. Is it pasilla? Someone help me out here. That's what I wanted. It's wrapped in phyllo. It's like a shredded chicken wrapped in phyllo. It always looks so insanely good, and I want to try that. Warren, really? I hope not. Evan wants more dumpling recipes of any type. Well, Evan King, I can try to do that. I love dumplings. In fact, I might try to make something called German ravioli, which is kind of a bad name because it just doesn't compute in the brain, German ravioli. They're kind of a dumpling. They're kind of a meat rolled in pasta dough, and then you cut it and you cook it in broth with vegetables and stuff. And I want to try that. I forget the name. It has something to do with like monks hiding meat from God, which sounds like a new Netflix series. But I'm going to try that. I forget the name. It's got a lot of syllables. Trust me. A lot of consonants, too. There's Germans. It's like they get paid by the consonant. Tom, thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, Donna, that's a good point. I did watermelon pizza. I can do more tofu recipes. Very good point. Frank, we've done borscht. I think it came out pretty good. Check it out. I was proud of our borscht recipe. One of my earliest memories was traveling to New York City with my dad and mom, and it's where his family was from. And my grandmother, my Polish grandmother, would make borscht, and we would put sour cream in it, and it would turn pink, and we thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So that was one of my earliest childhood exotic food memories, was eating borscht in Queens, New York. Very close, by the way, to the former residence of a certain someone that you know who I'm talking about from Queens. Wasn't popular even back then. Anyway, that's enough of that. Old Daddy, Old Daddy, can I give you suggestions for high altitude cooking? I'm at 5,500 feet. Old Daddy, I can give you no new information or old information about cooking at altitude because I'm in San Francisco, which is pretty much sea level. And in Sonoma, we're maybe a few hundred feet up. So I am lost on high altitude cooking tips. I'm sorry. I'm just going to trail off now because I just know what to do. Thank you, pronounced tofu in a Thai curry. That's a great idea. Great tomato. Yes, of course, our school lunchroom had pizza. It was horrible. It was like white bread that they put sauce on and then put in the oven for 5 minutes. It was hideous. So yeah, your high school had delicious pizza. I'm so jealous. How did that happen? Are you sure you didn't go to school in like a pizzeria or an Italian restaurant? Because our cafeteria did not do good pizza. It was brutal. I'm pretending to read, but I'm really resting my voice. Brian, last night braised some 80-20 ground beef. I drained and refrigerated the liquid. Okay, I'm intrigued. Once chilled, I scooped off the fat. Okay, the rest was Jell-O. Did I accidentally make the world's first no-bone demi-glaze? You did not. You did not. But most meat juices, if they're concentrated, like apparently happened with yours when you braised it and drained it and chilled it, do have some collagen from the meat, from the connective tissue that was ground in. So yes, technically you made a demi-glaze substitute, let's call it. What made you think of that? I don't know. I'm impressed. Now, what I'm worried about is why wasn't that stuff that you're now calling and bragging that you made no-bone demi-glaze, why didn't that go in to what you were cooking? So I don't generally drain my ground meat. I know if you look at an old recipe, like from the 50s and 60s, it will say brown the ground beef, drain, and then put it back in the pan and continue cooking. I never do that. I want all the stuff in the pan. Maybe I'll skim off a little fat later, depending. But anyway, interesting. Thank you for that. Sydney says, I can breed and eat the rabbits. They're wonderful animals, or keep them as pets. Yeah, that's the problem. I know you can breed and eat them, but the problem is they're wonderful animals, and you can keep them as pets. So after about 2 days, I'm pretty sure I would become too attached and emotionally involved to then, snap their necks and eat them. So that's probably not going to happen. I'm a total hypocrite. I have no problem with you snapping a rabbit's neck and, cleaning it and giving it to me to cook. But I'm probably not going to do that myself. I'm a lightweight. That's why I'm a gentleman farmer and not a farmer. All right, did you hear that? We had the first Michelle laugh. I have the fan on in here because it's kind of warm, or at least it helps with the flop sweat, keeping me cool. But anyway, Michelle's in the background in case you heard that. Ash tried the garlic rice stuffed chicken. Wonderful. Does that same technique work for Thanksgiving turkey? Ash, I'm going to say anatomically it would work because, a chicken ain't nothing but a bird. And a turkey is just a bigger bird, and they have similar, stretchy skin over the breast meat. So you could try it. I'm intrigued. The longer cooking time, maybe we'd have to make some adjustments. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'll do a possible on that one. Roxanne wants to know my favorite cooking hack. I'm not sure about my favorite cooking hack. I need a more specific area, like what are we trying to save time doing? My favorite cooking hack in my history of my cooking career was straining some chicken noodle soup into some salad croutons, dry, crunchy garlic croutons, And once they were moistened, I fried those in butter with a pinch of poultry seasoning, and I passed it off as Thanksgiving type turkey dressing stuffing. So does that count? That was a pretty good hack. We ran out of stuffing at a restaurant I worked, and too late to tell the customer. I was afraid to get yelled at. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try this. It's only going to take about 7 or 8 minutes, and we'll see what happens. And it worked. I got away with it. And that, really, kidding aside, was when I first sort of got the bug for cooking and creating things in the kitchen and, culinary problem solving. Thank you, Lady Time. I like your name. It is very royal and regal. Patricia is having major lengthy surgery tomorrow. Oh, well, I hope everything turns out okay. Can I put this mixture of feta cheese, tomatoes, olive oil in the freezer? I made too much. I don't think so. I don't believe you can freeze cheese, tomatoes, olive oil, and when it thaws, it would be a nice texture. I'm sorry. That's probably the last thing you wanted to hear going into major surgery. But forget about the salad. You get yourself well, and then we'll worry about your feta and tomatoes. All right? Have someone make fresh feta, tomato, olive oil for you when you get out. Anyway, hope all the best for you. We'll be thinking about you. And I got to be honest, I'm not concerned about your tomatoes and feta. We're more concerned with you. So good luck with all that. Jim, have I ever made a shoe fly pie? No. A wet bottom shoe fly pie. Shoe fly pie. You know what? I'm going to practice saying that for a few weeks, and then maybe we'll give it a try. I've heard about it. I love the name. I pretty much have to make that video just because of the name, shoe fly pie. And in fact, that'll be easy to rhyme with. Aloha, Tanya. Clue a pig. I need to do that video. Sam. Oh, good. We have a negative comment. I like these better. Chef John, I made your state fair lemonade, but it came out very bitter. Follow the directions to a T, but let the peel sit in hot water for a while. Could that have caused bitterness? Probably not. What probably caused the bitterness was peeling a little too deep. If you get a lot of white with the peel and not just the yellow part, and you let it marinate or macerate with the sugar, when we do the coat it in sugar and wait for the oily sugar step, that can cause the bitterness. Since the only thing that's bitter in this whole operation is the white of the lemon, I have to blame that. The other thing that can cause it, and why I'm not a big fan of these industrial strength citrus juicers, is if you overjuice a lemon and you really are just crushing the you-know-what out of it, you're going to get some of that bitterness from the white pith that gets into the juice. So when I squeeze a lemon, I just squeeze. I don't try to go like crazy squeezing. And I'm okay if I miss out on a drop or two of lemon juice. I don't want to start squeezing that white pith juice into the juice. So that's my theory on what happened. Angie, you have to make sauce. You bought too many tomatoes, you make sauce. Then you freeze the sauce and you're fine. Omar, I cannot believe you missed the start of the chat either. Come on. I promoted this 2 days ago. Well, not really. I just set it up. But we'll have to give you more warning next time. There's apparently a famous Dutch dish, Karen says, that's mashed potatoes, mashed carrots and potatoes called Hutspot. I love the name, Hutspot. How come that's not a website? Hutspot should be a website. What does Hutspot do? Let's all pitch in and start a company. Jamie wants flapper pie. Sounds like something that you would like. Flappers, isn't that from the 30s and 20s when you were a kid? Yes, flapper pie's been requested before. I have to try that. Jake made our Hungarian Goulash a few days ago. Mistakenly used a 6-ounce can of tomato paste. How badly did I ruin the flavor? You tell me. Was it edible? Was it tasty? Was it overly tomatoey? You can just call it something else, right? You could just throw a jar of marinara in there and keep simmering it and probably have one of the best pasta sauces you've ever made. So as you know, Jake, we never let the food win. Never let the food win. So are you afraid to taste it? You're asking me? You have to get in there, and you have to get in there deep with a fork or a spoon, and you have to taste it and not be afraid, and then you have to make up a story if something went wrong, that it's really a different recipe. You can do it. Lady Time, you will not dislike squash if you salt it, like I'm telling you. Trust me. Oh, someone just mentioned de la Cotto Squash. Yes, that's delicious. Cut it thin, roast it. You can eat them like candy. Go check our de la Cotto Squash video, please. Karen suggested that. I know. Warren says, YouTube notorious about broken notifications. It's a serial problem on all the channels I follow. All right, we have to do where everybody that's a subscriber has to sign up for notifications so I can do a study on how many work. Do you hear that, everybody? Right now, if you don't have notifications clicked, do me a favor, click on it, and then I'll see if the next video has twice the traffic. Let's try that. Sam says he was sure there was no white pith. Then I'm totally confused. Sam, did you remember the sugar? Something's going on there. If you only got the yellow peel and you did it in the sugar like we said, maybe there was some weird coating on your lemons, but you said you soaked them in hot water. Did you soak them in like boiling water? Did they cook? Now I'm really confused and mystified. We're going to have you try this again. Matt ate too many spicy foods and the stomach feels spicy. What do I do? Matt, just wait. You just got to wait it out. There's no way to fix that. Pastilla, yes, Donna, thank you. Chris, Bistia, Pastilla. I'm assuming they're the same thing, just pronounced and spelled, or pronounced the same sort of and spelled differently. I want to do that. I want to do that video. It looks complicated, but I want to try it. So, and I will not be doing it with homemade phyllo. That's like a once every 3-year operation. Alex says one of the first recipes they tried was Oxtail Stew, and it seems like it's not online anymore. You know what happened? A million years ago, I used to do videos for a company called About.com. It was About.com / American Food. And I did a Oxtail Stew video for them, and then that company, website, whatever, went bankrupt, got bought by somebody, and now it's on a different site, but I don't think any of the videos are up anymore. So I need to do an Oxtail Stew video, although the Oxtail Ragu, which is still on the site, which is more recent, is, the same idea. Oxtails are amazing. You just got to cook them for, 10 hours. They're ridiculously tough. A lot of connective tissue, which is why it's so delicious. Frank, thank you. The German dumpling I'm talking about, German ravioli, is called Maltaschen. 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 I'm a little disappointed. That's not as long as I thought it was. And barely only, 11 consonants there. So, but anyway, if that's the name, that's the name. But is that the one where the monks tried to hide the meat from God so God wouldn't see it, so they wrapped it in pasta as if that would actually fool, a real legit God. Anyway, you got to admire the attempt. Quiet Mike, YouTube no longer sends email notifications since August. This is outrageous. Come on, YouTube. I need all the views I can get. Thank you, Diane. We have some new members today, which is nice to see. Evan ate in a great Italian restaurant in Sonoma, no names. You can give names. Evan, if you want to give a name, give a name. I'm looking for restaurants. When and if we're allowed to go out again, I would like to go to a restaurant. Yeah, I would love to suggest somebody for Rosh Hashanah, but I don't know. What is traditionally served? I'm so bad with the ethnic holidays, except for midnight mass and Italian food. I am in my bubble, and that's something outside my bubble. I would like to learn more. So if anyone has a suggestion for this Friday, let Katie know, and I can learn something too. And I'm glad people are trying to solve Sam's bitter lemon problem. It's quite a mystery. Diane, thank you. 15 years she's been lurking and admiring. I appreciate it. I know, Diane, I did during the Fat and the Sloppy Joe. I was trying to simulate the childhood Sloppy Joe that people are used to, the cafeteria style. And every single one of those recipes has you do that. So I think I gave in to the conventional wisdom there. The point is, you wouldn't necessarily have to, but I remember now that you reminded me. Yeah, so the exception proves the rule, as they say. But generally, I don't. Thank you, Jonathan. Love Your Food wants to know, what's my preference, lobster or crab? Do I have to pick? Why do I have to pick? Can I have lobster one day and crab another? If for the rest of my life I could only eat one, well, that's a tough one. Now, San Francisco is known for its Dungeness crab, so it would be sacrilegious to not choose crab. Lobster has more meat, though. The lobster has that big juicy tail and the claws. Crab, harder to get the meat. It's a tough one. I gotta go crab. Sorry. I like the flavor of the crab a little more, so I guess I'll put up with the more work. It's almost a tie, though. Rebecca, I think my Rice Crispy Wing recipe could be adapted to chicken tender nuggets. If so, how? Yeah, I don't know about that. It's tough adapting a solid wing recipe for something that's chopped up and ground and formed into nuggets. So I'm going to say I don't know. I never like to say yes if I don't know, so I'll say I don't know. I guess after you made the nuggets, you could use a similar coating. So in that way, I don't see why not, because you can coat a nugget with whatever kind of starch you want. So give it a try and then report back. Jonathan, thank you. Pork tenderloin Diablo is a very popular recipe, and people mention that is the first recipe that they made from the site where they did a decent pan sauce. So thank you. That's one of my all-time favorite and simplest recipes we've posted on the channel. And once you start making recipes like that, you realize cooking's not that hard. It's meat, a pan, fry, deglaze, caramelization off the bottom. Can you imagine people all over the world, and especially in the United States, cook a piece of meat, and then they put it on a plate and they eat it, and then later they're in the sink scrubbing a fond off the bottom of the pan and cursing oh, this stupid, the chicken was okay, but now I got to clean this stupid caramelized meat juice that's so stuck on and tough and probably delicious. So that's what we have to avoid. People washing dishes. If you're scrubbing stuff off the bottom of a pan, you probably did something wrong. So let's all keep that in mind. I'm assuming all our, the members here know that and have been well trained. But in case you don't, keep that in mind. Never wash a pan. It should already be clean by the glazing process, generally. There are exceptions. Some things don't have sauces. Thank you, Jesus. Don't forget you're the Jesus of your cheeses. Steak Diane, have you ever had cream curdle when you add it to white wine? No, if you use a high enough fat content cream, it shouldn't curdle. Creme fraiche won't curdle. That's why creme fraiche is great. Fermented cream. So yeah, I'm confused by that. You sure it was actual real cream, or it wasn't just like a half and half or sort of cream? Real cream should not curdle in a sauce. Yes, Jonathan, it is a crime against humanity not to glaze in a pan. Jake, yes. If you are toasting spices and the smoke alarm's going off, you probably toasted them a little too much. That's just a guess. But by the time smoke gets to a sensor, that pan probably was a little too hot. So back it down, buddy. Back it down. Kelly wants to know when the Chef John, Jon cookbook's coming out. I don't know any Chef Johns, as I temporarily become a smartass because you missed the H in my name. But no, I appreciate the question. Thank you for asking. I am theoretically working on a cookbook. It will probably be done, and Jamie Musselwhite will enjoy this. It should be done by the time I'm 88. It is a slow and torturous process when you have no time and you're trying to move studios and start a small farm in Sonoma and many other things, not to mention, film and record and shoot and plan and write and do 2 videos every week. So, yes, I am working on it, though. It's, it's a little challenging. But you know what? You guys got your own problems, so I'm not going to complain about how hard it is to write a cookbook. It's in the works. Rob, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. Whoops. You made our Queen Amman Friday amazing. The dough was super wet. Had to keep adding flour. That's normal. That always happens. Yes, that happened to me before, like every time. If your dough is easy to work with, it's probably not that good of a dough. It probably has too much flour in it. Also, fan or no fan for bakes like this? What do you mean bakes like this? You mean like Queen Amman? I am a fan of bakes like that because they're challenging and semi-complicated. But you just said amazing exclamation point, so it's worth it. Yes, love your food. Those people on Worst Cooks in America, they could have saved all that time and just watched Food Wishes. I could not agree more. Oh, Brian, good. I feel better now. Added his beef jello back into what he was making. Woo! That was a close one. I thought you just were admiring your jelly. And good. Yes, always put your cheater, no-bone demi-glaze back in the recipe. Jim, do I have a special way to candy nuts? I don't. Don't we just coat those in sugar? I'm confused. Yeah, I don't. I don't know where to go with that question. It seems like a straight line. Were you hoping for a joke there? Candied nuts, I know you can do the sort of the toffee method where you make the caramel, the dry caramel, as most people pronounce it, and then you quickly stir in the nuts, and once that cools, you chop it all apart. That's my favorite way to candy nuts. But I think you're talking about the individual ones like beer nuts that just has a little bit of sugar on the outside. I think powdered sugar, dissolved coating, and then baked. I don't like the ones that have the grains of sugar on them. I like the ones that have the kind of shiny, crisp coating. I think that's what you're talking about. I'll have to revisit that. Maybe around Christmas we'll do some candied nuts. Excuse me. I'm a little choked up on the toxic air we've been breathing for like 3 weeks. It's only like 4 to 5% oxygen, I think. So not only does it just destroy my throat and it gets all scratchy and makes me feel like I have an allergy, but there's not enough oxygen getting to my brain, so I'm a little slower than usual. So please excuse me. Karen, I have a sous chef. Her name is Michelle. Thank you very much. Yes, Grape Tomato Girl. The sky is less cayenne these days. It's kind of an ugly gray, blue, gray. It's semi-normal today. And we're going to be heading back up to Kismet later today, where hopefully things are going to clear out. I heard the winds are changing. Fingers crossed. We need a wind change. Hello, Sarah. Hope you're doing fine in Palo Alto. Go Giants. Yes. Both San Francisco baseball giants and New York football giants, who, you heard it here first, will win this year's Super Bowl. Take it to the bank. Take your kids' college fund out if you have anything left, and bet it all on the Giants. You're going to get good odds, like really good odds, like 1,000 to 1 probably. But don't worry, it's going to come in, and then we'll all be living it up. And you can send me a little something if it works out. That would only be fair. Karen, yes, I heard it's very smoky up there. Take care of yourself. Yeah, Rob, fan, no fan in the oven has always confused me. I've worked on many stoves that have convection settings, which makes things cook faster because the air is moving. But for whatever reason, I don't really use it. I like to simulate what most people are going to be baking with, which is not a fan. And yes, you probably do watch too many British cooking shows because I know they always click on their convection setting. But anyway, not something I've ever really embraced too much. Excuse me. And yes, Jim, of course we put cayenne in our candy nuts. Why wouldn't you? Ash says her grandmother used egg white and a sugar spice. Yes, I've seen that. You coat the nuts in egg white, and then you put the sugar and whatever cinnamon spice you want on there. And the egg whites are whipped. Okay. What's Michelle's favorite dish you make? Michelle, what's your favorite dish I make? All right, we're going to ask her. She doesn't have one, she said. They're not happy with that answer. They would like you to think of something. Chabat? No, sorry. All right, she's thinking. She said they're all her favorite. They're all amazing. She can never even try to pick one. It would be like picking a favorite child. So anyway, you're not going to get an answer apparently. But if I think of one, I'll say it quietly so she can't hear. Yeah, because that's what they asked. I don't know. Talk to them. They said, what's your favorite? Anyway, Brian, yes. I've never done a beef Wellington. Why are we talking about beef Wellington? Anyway, if it were to happen, I would actually prefer seeing it in miniature form as an appetizer. Ooh, fun size beef Wellington. That reminds me. Next week, as I segue, I'm going to post a miniature 1-bite or 2-bite corn dog done in the oven, which is better than the regular corn dogs. I know, very exciting, since no one got to go to a fair this year. But I'm confused on what I should name it. Should I call it mini corn dogs, one bite corn dogs, or fun size corn dogs, which is what I'm leaning towards? If you have a thought, please throw it out there. Oh my God, we're already in an hour. Where did the time go? I'm supposed to be ending the chat now. All right, we'll go for a couple more minutes. If you have one last question to throw in here, please go ahead. We got a few minutes. That hour just went like that. Again, a lot of it's probably the lack of oxygen, and I've lost sense of time and space. People are saying fun size. Yes. One bite, fun size corn dog. All right. It looks like fun size is winner, since that's what I want to call it. So I was just waiting for those. Corn puppies. Donna, I thought of that, but the search engine gods will not reward corn puppies. They want corn dog. I thought of that. Grape Tomato Girl agrees with Michelle. You can't just pick a favorite. Too many delicious dishes to choose from. Well, thank you very much. All right, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you, love your food. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. Thank you for asking if we're okay. We're okay. The house is okay. We're doing okay. The air sucks. The weather's been terrible. It's been either triple digits or cold and foggy. But when you're, get around to, talking and criticizing the weather, most other things are probably going okay. So I'll just leave it at that. We're doing good. Hope you're all doing good. Hope you enjoyed the chat. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. If you're a new member and I didn't thank you very much. Again, I cannot tell you how much all this support means to us. Have a great rest of your Sunday and weekend. And as always, enjoy. Have a good one. I'm going to click end stream now. Here we go. Takes a second after I click it, which is why I always awkwardly look at the screen for a few seconds. Here we go. Have a great day. Thank you. Whoops, I didn't hit the button. All right, seriously, ending now.